Hello, I'm back. Having kind of a weird mental health day. I started processing a lot today and I just felt really weird. So I've spent like the last 2 hours just laying in bed and I ate a poke bowl. And yeah, then I got an email saying something about because the thing is that usually the way that our empirical projects work is that you can apply to be on somebody else's project, which is just a normal route. And I got an email about a certain deadline, and it said something about financial something. I think it's actually like a group or some kind of research thing. But I was nervous because I thought it meant that you couldn't submit a project that would be financed, and I really want that 500 pounds. So I got really nervous for a minute, and then I was like, "Oh no, I'm wrong," but I still didn't want to miss out on what I need to do. So I just got like, "Okay, let's go do some more," because yeah, there's certain deadlines coming up for other projects. So I want to make sure this is going to be like a-okay as well. Like, yes, you can do this. But before we get into it, I wanted to talk about something that I've been thinking about the last few days because I was just talking to people at work and we were having a conversation about, it was someone who was not a clinician, but she was mentioning that now there's some kind of podcast out on this woman who's not actually a therapist, but she basically started to convince people that they had repressed traumas and they believed her. And okay, so I wanted to talk about that because I found it really interesting doing this work on recovered memory, dissociative amnesia, etc. And obviously, I'd experienced recovered memories, and it's a really controversial overlap because there are cases where people, well, it's very complex. Okay, there's a lot of different elements to it, I would say. On one hand, sexual abuse stories have been extensively covered up over time, I would say, in our society, in even in psychology. For example, I mentioned in another video that Freud actually initially wrote a paper about sexual trauma, where he basically said that a lot of these different mental health symptoms that he was seeing were linking back to sexual trauma that his clients were revealing to him. And then he got such bad backlash from the people, like from the community around him, the psychological community around him at the time, that he actually retracted the paper and wrote a new paper that was like the Oedipus complex and etc., where he basically said that these things were actually a reflection of boys secretly wanting to have sex with their mothers and women wanting the attention of their fathers. I think that's very important to factor into the conversation. This is the thing that I think is difficult about the recovered memory conversation, is that because there's such a stigma, the cases, but I think people are already prone to not believing or not amplifying that conversation, that symptom, that experience. And so the cases where people do have some kind of controversy or do have some kind of confabulation issue, do have some kind of issue where their therapy, they get convinced in therapy, that gets really amplified, where it's not everybody's experience. But I think because of the stigma and because that is so in line with what we think would happen to people who reveal sexual trauma and stuff, I think that's why that becomes this really prominent story where people don't have an explanation yet. And I think that explanation is a touch in line with the way that we react to sexual abuse stories to this day, though we don't often meet sexual abuse victims with a lot of respect, a lot of belief, and etc., for many different reasons. Consistently, sexual abuse stories are shut down or raped, everything, and people get gaslit, it gets covered up. So it's very convenient to take that as an answer and put it across the board. This is the case. It doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. It does happen. It does happen. Also, even this is something that I don't like, that I know psychology is getting a little bit more in like the common realm, whatever. There's a lot of tests out, like advertisements out for people to take these tests on, do you have trauma? Like, will tell you if you had trauma as a child and stuff. That I don't think that that's an appropriate way to navigate that question. And I think that people should go to therapy for that. I don't think you should listen to anybody on TikTok telling you that you might have repressed trauma. I don't think that you should. That's a very complicated situation. If for me, it was complex. It was pretty random. It was pretty out of the blue. I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't looking for a solution really to my problems. I just thought I was really severely messed up for a year. And then I started to recover memory because of other circumstances, and that's how I recovered my memories. It's not a thing that just comes up out of the blue, and I don't think that people should go and take quizzes online to see if they have secretly repressed trauma. I want that so clear. I don't like that idea. I don't like if somebody just starts telling you that maybe you have secret covered up trauma, that is not a conversation to be having online. That is not like with people that don't know you and your mental health. And I don't think that that's an appropriate way to engage with the recovered trauma story or with the mechanisms of recovered trauma. Nothing. I don't think that that's appropriate, and I don't think that's good. Ethically, I don't think it's good to make quizzes like that, etc. I just don't like it at all. Okay, as someone who dealt with recovered memory, I believe survivors, etc., I don't think that that's right. There have been cases in the past, yes, where people have gotten in a therapeutic context, and this is the thing though, is that I think that people took that situation of, yes, there are cases where people incorrectly sort of navigate the idea of recovered memories, and that was the case, I would say, maybe in a time where it was sort of coming up, people were just starting to sort of re-navigate dissociation, PTSD in psychology, and maybe it was overblown or something in a certain context, or just sort of not navigated with much clarity because we didn't have a deep understanding of how recovered memory work. What is the science behind this? How does that work, right? So I do think that it makes sense that maybe there were situations where people did get into that sort of context, right? I don't think that means that we stop believing people who recovered memories of trauma, and I don't, because I think that if it's consistently across the board, people are discussing, saying that they dealt with this experience. Particularly, I think it makes so much sense for people who had a severe trauma in childhood to not be able to deal with that until later in life, etc. I don't think that means that we stop doing research for recovered trauma, obviously, because that's what I want to do. I'm doing research on recovered memory, right? I think what that means is that we get more informed. You don't make assumptions. We teach people, do more research and teach people how to navigate that appropriately. What does that mean scientifically? How do we sort of, as therapists, how do you navigate that potential, and how do you navigate that experience ethically, accurately, with sensitivity? I will say nothing that I ever recovered had to do with a therapist telling me that I had a recovered memory. Anything I ever recovered was on the fly, random, disturbing, like middle of the night kind of situation where I had that situation happen. It was never suggested by any therapist to me that I may have had a trauma. Never, ever, ever. That's for the best. I think that I particularly had a more trauma-informed therapist once I sort of started to actually get more into that experience. She did a great job. I love that therapist. She was really great, and she never suggested anything to me. I think that was really, really important, and was trauma informed and navigated my experience with a lot of nuance and etc. And I think that that's very important. I think that that's how it should be done, and I think that you get to that point by doing more research on recovered memory, getting more of an understanding of what are these mechanisms, so that people have more information on how to navigate that experience. It doesn't mean we shut down the research. It doesn't mean we start telling everybody they're a liar, everybody's fake, because I think that the reason it got skewed like that, like I said, it's, if the reason it got skewed like that, I think, is because the story that people navigating this experience, a lot of times women navigate that experience, and we also have a stigma towards men that, we have stigmas towards sexual abuse, that I think that that's the reason why, when it was a very easy solution to pin it all on therapists, where I think that that is some of the cases, but across the board it is certainly not all the cases. And I think that we do such a deep disservice to people's traumatic experiences by navigating it like that. So I think that that's the nuance that needs to be had, is that people need to go into this. We know that better now, especially I think right now we're having, as a society, such an intense conversation about sexual trauma, sexual abuse, survivors, etc., that I think we just know better. And I think that we can see across the board that sexual abuse has been really prominently covered up by people in power, families. Sexual abuse frequently happens in secret, and then children don't really know how to navigate that. Also, I think, are just starting to get even more educated on how to teach children how to speak about their bodies teaching people about consent, how to say no, etc. So I think that we have more information now, and I think that we should take that and have a better conversation about how to navigate recovered memories, where I do think probably plenty of times maybe things went a little bit wrong, but it's not, I think, rather than blaming or rather than covering up or rather than telling people that everything is fake, we just need more information. I think it's always, this is again, always a situation that we always need more information. We should always have more research. We should always do more research. And I think that also we need to get more comfortable sometimes with when it comes to sexual abuse or sexual trauma, not starting to pin reasons or tell people that they lied. And sometimes it's okay to say I don't have enough information or I don't know. I felt that even myself navigating recovered memory in a justice setting where a little story, a very misogynistic little story, was pinned onto my trauma and pinned, it was inaccurate as to why I was navigating the world in a traumatized state. Again, it wasn't accurate. I was not believed, and it was very painful for me, very invalidating, where I think that even in a justice context, I think there's a sort of psychological drama that I think comes with sexual abuse, where people not only do they want to say, well, I'm not, you don't, you didn't win the case, but also, or whatever, even when it comes to psychology or whatever, but I'm also going to tell you the reason why I think that you're thinking this, or there's this sort of desire to psychoanalyze in these really sort of distorted and difficult and sort of invalidating ways. And I've seen that in recovered memory a lot, and I face that. And it's like, I think that we need to stop doing that and sometimes tell people, I don't know. I don't know the answer. If there's not enough evidence, okay, you position it like that, I think, rather than telling people that they're confabulating and all this stuff. I just don't know enough. I'm sorry, I don't have enough information. Or even I think sometimes people may be in therapy if you have a client that's dealing with recovered memory or dealing with a trauma that you don't understand, you don't have the training for it. Say, I don't know, find someone who does. Where I think that personally, I don't know if that's across the board. I just felt that myself as a survivor navigating the justice system, where there's this, I think sometimes people get too into pinning a reason into something where it's like, it's okay. This is one of the biggest things I learned, even myself navigating recovered memory, is that it's okay sometimes to not know the answer. It's okay to not have clarity. I had to learn that myself when I was navigating my own processing, that sometimes it's okay to just not know. I don't know how certain fragments piece together. I don't know why I'm having this symptom, and it's okay to not know, and it's okay to not have all of the answers immediately. So I think that that's like the big thing that I've learned, is that there's such a rush when it comes to dissociation. There's such a rush when it comes to trauma to start pinning the answers. And I think even I'm seeing that on social media with people's experiences of I don't know, even just I this is how I am, and I want this really immediate answer, and I want this really immediate label as to why I'm having this experience, why I'm having this symptom, why do I feel anxious about this, why do I feel anxious about that, where there's this immediate desire to go on the internet and take a quiz, and they're going to tell you that you have secret recovered memory or trauma, or that you have I've seen, these are so funny. I should actually, let's pull them up. I'm going to show them to you. In an environment where a lot of situation like that, because it's very hard to get therapy. Sometimes if you can't afford it, therapy is expensive. Therapy is accessible for everybody. I will say though, I'm really trying to see if I can get this out. I wish this came up organically. If I had thought this earlier, I would have screenshot. If anything, I'll screenshot it next time I see it, and I'll put it up for you to see it here. But I think it makes sense. But at the same time, I'm not gonna lie to you, these tests, the way that they advertise, the way that the quizzes work are not very indicative. These are the kinds of questions that you probably wouldn't be able to answer. This is the kind of information that you get as an actual psychology student, that you don't necessarily learn this as the average person. There's actual genuine questionnaires and things that psychologists and researchers actually use to navigate questions about trauma. This is one. I'm going to show you one. These are developed by researchers. They're tested to see if they sort of fit, if they're
reliable, if they actually indicate something about trauma. And there's questionnaires like this out for everything under the sun, every kind of experience. There's ones for dissociation, trauma, there's ones for psychosis, etc. There's a lot of different real questionnaires out there. It might be a little bit less accessible necessarily to the average person, and it's also not a replacement for therapy, but I wanted to show you the difference because these tests that you see online are most likely not developed by actual psychologists, but they're just using terms that are very, very popular in psychology. Here, this is the adverse childhood experiences questionnaire. Okay, this is what an actual psychological questionnaire looks like that an actual psychologist would use or a researcher. I don't know how much these are actually used in therapy, but you do, for example, when I've taken therapy, there have been questionnaires of this type sometimes where if you look at this, you can see like there's sorts of these sort of questions about trauma, and you would actually, check off what you have. Somebody would look at your score, and then they would tell you if there's a sort of logic behind them. This is something that people would use in a medical context to analyze the kind of path that you had, etc. And yeah, these are people can use these questionnaires in conjunction with other questionnaires to sort of get an information about what your life is like that will actually give a fleshed out picture of the kind of background that you have, and then you can get good information about what your actual sort of what root problems you may have. The problem with the questionnaire types that I've shown you in these advertisements, again, I don't think that they're developed by psychologists. Like I said, they usually are picking at things that they know people are interested in like pop psychology. For example, do I have secret trauma? Even as somebody with recovered memory and recovered, I do believe in them. That's why I'm doing research. However, it's not the case for everybody. It's something that you really want to be careful with and actually discuss with a psychiatrist. Or it took a lot of processing. It changed my life in the most negative and difficult of ways to recover memories. In some ways, it assisted my life because I could get care, but it didn't make me feel better to recover memories. It wasn't like, oh, well, that's why I'm like this. It was a process of really years of unpacking, years of going to therapy, still having really intense dissociative symptoms. It wasn't just like oh, I'm okay now because I know that this is what happened. What I think a lot of people might be looking for is you actually going to therapy and discussing with a therapist maybe the reason why you might feel a certain way. Why am I so anxious around other people? Why do I feel uncomfortable about like my sexuality and things like that? Doesn't mean that you have repressed something. It's actually, I don't think it's really that common, I would say, across the board. It's not everybody with PTSD has repressed trauma. A lot of people, I'm sure there's maybe a lot of people with, for example, CPTSD have struggled with dissociation. It doesn't always mean that your brain is hiding something really, really massive and intense, but that maybe there are memories that you haven't dealt with, and etc. So I just think that people should use those things with caution. And I think I've hopefully, so I haven't showed it yet, but hopefully I attached a screenshot to this video, because I run into this ad probably like at least once a day, and every time I'm like, this is so why? But basically, like I've seen ones that are like, am I an abuser? Am I a narcissist? And they're not, again, I don't think that they're developed by psychologists. I think they're really sort of grabbing at people's interest and sort of our expanded awareness of psychology so that they can, I don't know what I think maybe they sell you some kind of training or some kind of something at the end, and they're not good indicators of whether you should never, I'm saying even myself as someone who dealt with recovered memories, never take an online test that tells you, oh, I secretly have recovered memories. I've seen so many of those tests and they're not. I don't think that is ethical. I think that's very harmful.
Okay, I had to do a voiceover at this part, but I was saying I know other people in my life who have dealt with recovered memories or with repressed memories, who dealt with sexual abuse and recovered memories later in life. It doesn't work like that you're just going to take a quiz. It does not work like that at all. It's very painful. It's a process. It doesn't make you feel better all of a sudden. In fact, I would say you're usually going to feel worse. It's a massive process that's really long and incredibly painful after recovering some kind of memory. something you're going to be navigating probably for a very, very long time in life, navigating in therapy, everything. It can worsen your symptoms, make you feel suicidal, all of these different things. And it's not just this instant, oh, that's why I am the way I am, that's why I was sad, that's why all of this. If that's what you're looking for, or you're just looking for an explanation as to why you feel a certain way, therapy will already do that. You can already have that process in therapy without having a recovered memory, a process of navigating why you feel certain things about yourself, why you're sad, why you have difficulties in certain situations. And it doesn't mean that you have recovered memories. Also, another way I've seen this advertised is that I showed my boyfriend my trauma test results, and now they're crying because they see how much I dealt with. And it gives you like this little chart of all these different numbers and things, and you have like 70% childhood abuse or things like that, 30% violent background. They have zero way of knowing that about you without speaking to you. Everybody navigates their trauma so differently. There's not a one-size-fits-all approach to trauma. Oh my god, finally I found an example. It's like these. I already attached a picture of this earlier in the video, but I'm gonna show you again. Things like this. How can they know that you have 11? First of all, let's look at this. First of all, why is this one out of 11? And it's a full bar. Why is it out of 11, first of all? Also, what is it basing this off of? Second of all, I'm sorry, but I've never seen an actual psychological test of some kind in psychology that has heartache as a factor. What is heartache? How do you define heartache? What does it mean? 5, letting go. What does that mean? These are the things that they advertise, and it doesn't make much sense. It's not really based off of much, and why would they want to sell you something, some program? And I think it's so dangerous because so many of them promise that they'll explain your trauma or tell you that you have some kind of repressed trauma. It doesn't mean anything. And I have navigated so much trauma. I went to therapy a lot, had different mental health symptoms. I had medication, all of these different things. And I can tell you from experience, as someone who's navigated that, you might have complex trauma. You might have not complex trauma or even trauma, but something else that you need to navigate in therapy. You should talk to an actual therapist about that. And I understand that sometimes therapy is not as accessible as it can be, and we need to work on that. But even so, here's another one. These are the kinds of tests. Which do you see first? An elephant or an apple or a butterfly? That's not going to tell you absolutely anything about your trauma. There's one that I hear all the time on my YouTube that's like, which sound do you hear? Do you hear I'm falling, I'm hitting, don't leave me? And it's like based on that, they're going to tell you your childhood trauma. And that is not how psychology works. That's not how it works at all. Trauma is so complex. That is something you have to navigate and talk about with somebody for a very long time. Take it from me, honestly. You'll be talking about that in therapy forever. It takes a while. You sort of break through a wall. Now you're talking about new things. And it's a very long process, and it's not comfortable, and you can't put it on a test like this. Look, okay, now we're really getting all of them. Now we're getting all the pictures. We're just gonna look at some of these because honestly, also, even as a psychology person, I just find them extremely funny. Like, and I find them kind of hilarious, honestly. Let's look at this one. Test your childhood trauma. Choose your figure. What is this based off of? The thing is that when you look at something like this, you need to be thinking, what are they basing this off of? Is there a psychologist that tested that if you picked a random squiggly circle with another circle in the middle, you have childhood trauma? Is there a study? How? How does that work? What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't. These things are not good indicators of whether you actually have trauma. I'm going to open this one. These are the things that I find actually extremely damaging. And it's really damaging to people who have actually experienced recovered memory for a test like this to exist, because this is the kind of thing that people look at and they say, oh yeah, you know, people are just sort of making up their memories. People are getting tricked into thinking they have trauma that they don't, where it's not the case across the board. Recovered memory is real, but there's a science to it, an actual science to it, and it's not this. Where if you see a tree, it means you have divorced parents. If you see a woman, it means you had psychological neglect. It does not work like this. They are selling you something and they're not based on anything. This kind of advertising is extremely harmful to people that actually have recovered memory, and it's just not good. Again, I think that I don't know how often people take these, but they've really been extremely advertised across the board on my Instagram. Honestly, every website. All the time I get these ads. And I understand that people really want a solution. And what you really need to do is go to therapy. And if you can't afford it, that's really hard. Try to see if you can find some kind of scholarship program, a program that can actually offer you some type of therapy, or etc. If you really, really feel like you have some kind of really intense trauma like this to work through, that's the way to do it. And it's definitely not this. I'm sorry, but I really wanted to talk about that for a second because I
do think I dealt with recovered memory. I think that the conversation around recovered memory has been so skewed because of misogyny, but also because of stuff like this, and also because
sometimes people are looking for an easy solution out. I think that sometimes therapists maybe aren't as educated, or some people can really sort of romanticize psychology breakthrough, really romanticize that experience of, oh my God, I didn't remember all along. This actually happened to me, where it's a horrible experience, I would say. Dealing with that kind of recovered memory, pray that it never happens to you. It sucks. It's not fun. And usually it doesn't happen. This is the thing, is that I recovered my memories, not after being like, oh, I'm kind of anxious about this, let me try to look for a solution. It came after a really long time that I've been dealing with really intense issues, self-harm. I really felt like I wanted to end my life. I was having really, really intense negative thoughts about myself for a long time. I'm really impacted and I'm not understanding myself well. My therapist was not really understanding me well either, or why neither of us could understand why I was even in that situation, why these different things came up and all these different things. Over time, it came up after like a long period of time of like a year. I recovered the memories organically. I'm grateful for the path that it led me down, but it's probably the worst thing that ever happened to me. My life was impacted massively. It sucked. I'm happy because it helped me unpack what was happening finally, but I'm not even all the way through the process, and it's really hard all the way through. It's not a fun thing to deal with. It's not an easy thing, and it didn't make my trauma go away. It actually made my PTSD and my feeling of, and a lot of other symptoms worse. So that's what I do want people to really know about recovered memory. I think that we really need to change the way that we navigate recovered memory, just across the board on everything. We do need to legitimize the experience because it's real, but this is not how it works, and this is not a good way of navigating it at all. It's not good. It's not accurate. It's not even how psychology works. If you are a non-psychology person, if you tried to submit this as some PhD project or an actual scale, people would laugh in your face because this is an optical illusion. It has nothing to do with psychology. So I just really wanted to start with that and just having that conversation with people about recovered memory. I just really wanted people to know how complex it actually is and how many layers there are to it, where it's like, we need more science. We need to change the misogyny that we have around the concept. There's this sort of romanticized psychology layer as well to deal with, where people have this sort of Freudian fantasy of like, wow, all of a sudden it's like this, wow, this magical, massive breakthrough. And all these different things that are just not helpful, and recovered memory sucks. But yeah, we're just gonna jump into my project now.
I hope that was useful to somebody, and that yeah, the answer is always, let's make more therapy more accessible to more people so that they can get actual good care for the issues that they're having, and not turn to AI, not turn to random quizzes, etc., that are just going to confuse you further and make you feel a little bit more lost. Okay, I talked about that longer than expected, but with that out of the way, we're going to go into my actual work that I'm doing. I've been a bit overwhelmed by the amount that I still have to do, where I feel like I keep chipping away at it and it just keeps not being enough. And I'm really annoyed because I'd like to get it over with, but we're going to look at what I have and then we're going to figure out what to do next with that. We're waiting for this to load. I'm going to say that I think the other thing is that sometimes the other reason why people might gravitate towards that concept, and I think that mental health, to us talking more about mental health online, talking about it on TikTok or whatever, it's amazing. I think it's great that people are more educated. I wouldn't have gotten, for example, an ADHD diagnosis if people weren't talking about ADHD online. I think that it really is a useful thing for us to talk about mental health more. Yes. That being said, this is just across the board. This is not even a psychology alone issue. This is an everything issue, every medical field issue, where you get a lot of people that are, I'm a nutritionist, I'm a dermatologist, I'm a this, where they start giving information on the internet. And it's really, really easy to look at somebody who's a professional giving advice on the internet. Sometimes people are not the professionals that you think they are. We don't often stop to question the credentials. I've seen this with other medical fields where, for example, there's people who are dermatologists, and they'll say, well, these people don't actually have like that much. They're giving skin advice and they're not really trained. They're going against the advice, in dermatology and all these different things. I can remember there's a nutritionist and dietitian. If you know this, comment below. One of them actually gets formal training at university, and the other, anybody can be that. And people will give you food advice on the internet. People will give you health advice on the internet. And I wanna validate, because it's really hard when you don't have, particularly for example, for me as a woman, I think that a lot of times our health issues aren't really that encompassed in the medical field, and we don't always get the best sort of support. And it's sometimes easier to go to people on the internet than it is to go to a doctor, particularly for something like gut issues, chronic health issues. You get people saying, I cured my chronic health issues, I cured my rheumatoid arthritis, whatever. Here, I'm going to teach you how to do it too. And I want to say that it's very valid, and it makes so much sense for people to want to seek that out on the internet when the medical field isn't giving you that much assistance. And I think that there is a lot of skepticism towards the medical industry because, at least in the United States, health insurance is, I mean, any kind of medical anything is really expensive. And I think that a lot of us have dealt with a situation where we went to the hospital or to a doctor and got extremely upcharged for something, weren't very well validated, didn't like, you go, you want help, they don't really give you help, they give you some random thing, and then they charge you a bunch for that. And that sucks. The system is incredibly broken. Medicine is needs so much, we need to do so much work in just medicine in general and how we support people, and including the voices that need to be included, because I think that's the reason that a lot of people end up filtering onto the internet. It's too expensive to go to a dermatologist, or it's too expensive to get a dietitian, or I don't really feel listened to by my doctor, my clinician, so I'm going to follow the advice of somebody on the internet who's giving me health advice. And I want to say that that's fair. It can also be quite dangerous, and sometimes, and as much as I have my own I have plenty of my own sort of frustration with resentment towards medicine. I think a lot of us have it because a lot of medicine also, it's like, oh, well, what if people are just trying to screw me over? What if they just want me to pay more money? We need to fix, at least in the United States where I'm from, we really need to fix the mental, we need to fix medicine by law to encompass people's experiences. I had a roommate, I had a flatmate here, even in the UK, and health insurance is free here, but she was passed over and over and over again. She was having an issue, and the doctors kept telling her, oh, no, you're just making it up, and it turned out to be something really serious. So the internet, I think, has become like a safe space for people to seek the exact answers that they need. The thing is that, particularly, I can't speak for every single medical health field under the sun, but studying psychology, I will say that sometimes you do need a psychologist, you do need a psychiatrist. Somebody on the internet doesn't know the exact specificities of what you need, and it can be very complicated trying to navigate your mental health alone. And sometimes, for example, I wanted to say, because those ads, they position it like this. Like I said, I showed my partner my mental health results, and it was like, it'll show a video of them showing the results, and their partner is crying because of how much trauma they faced, right? And I think that what this targets is that a lot of us, sometimes there's other unmet needs that aren't just trauma. Sometimes you really want intimacy with another person. You want somebody who to really understand you. Maybe you're having a hard time having people really understand your emotions, or have compassion towards your experience, or etc. And I think that that's why, and the advertisers know that. Advertisement is very predatory. That's why you don't see, like, you wouldn't see a therapist's office presenting themselves like that. They could, but that would be extremely predatory, right? This is the thing, is that psychology, I mean, that's why people go to therapy. That's the reason I go to therapy. You want someone to validate you, and you want the language. You want to have the language for people to understand you well and to love you for the difficult emotions that you face. Sometimes you're sad, sometimes you're frustrated, and you just wish that somebody could really understand you or meet your needs. The thing is, though, that the problem with those tests is that they might promise to fill your needs, but they might give you a solution that actually isn't really meeting the needs that you need met. And that's why therapy is important, because your therapist can talk to you rather than, do I have therapy? I mean, do I have trauma to show my partner so that they can understand me? They can talk about how to have better conversations with your partner. I'm not feeling very hurt in my relationship. Or sometimes there's other complex needs that you wouldn't even. This is the cool thing about therapy. Those tests have like set things, right? An actual therapist can look so much deeper than beyond the surface. As someone who's gone to therapy, they'll start noticing things about you that you never would have imagined, or like making connections that you're like, oh, you're seeing me a little bit too deep right now. Like, I didn't even want to face that about myself. That's the cool thing about therapy, is that you actually get such a better picture of yourself and what you need. And it can be really incredibly healing to go to therapy. And again, I empathize with people that don't have that option, but I think that sometimes we want to be understood and we want to be loved. And that's why those advertisements in a very predatory way give you that, like, sell you that promise that you'll have people understand you, or they'll see you on a deeper way. And it's like they're selling you a plan that I've never gone all the way. I did the app out of curiosity to see, but I never went through with it. But they want you to pay for a plan that's therapy adjacent, and that's not what, I'm sorry, but it's not going to be very well. Like an app, honestly, even AI is not going to give you the depth of information that a human being can give you, where you're just going to get slapped in the face with some truth about yourself that you were not expecting and be like, whoa, I see myself really differently. Yeah. I just wanted to say that because I really empathize with that idea, but it doesn't work like that. And we just need to make therapy more accessible, because what you want is somebody to understand you, and a therapist will understand you. Last thing, I swear, and then we're going into my project, but this is a real long this is years of my own therapy experience. Sometimes too, what you need, I would rather see a quiz on what's the best therapy type for me, because there's so many different therapy types out there. There's a lot of different specialties sort of therapy types that you can do. There's, for example, I had a more general talk therapist when I was at first, before I recovered memories. And I was in a really dark place before that, but I ended up getting just a more general therapist. I didn't know what my complex needs were at that point. I didn't really have much sense. I just knew I needed to talk to somebody. I will say, because I was coming into it with so much trauma, it was great for me to talk to somebody, but a lot of times I didn't feel like my needs were getting met in therapy. That doesn't mean therapy is bad and it's not for you. There's a lot of different therapy types out there. I needed somebody who was trauma informed. I needed someone who was trauma informed, because that helped me. So my therapist had more backing to understand where I was coming from and why I was reacting certain ways, where my other therapist, who was a bit more of a general therapist, didn't always have, like, I think she just I wasn't feeling very challenged in therapy, and I was just feeling like I was getting very generic advice on a situation that was so incredibly complex for me. Even with my ADHD, I think I struggled a bit, because this therapist also, I don't think she specialized much in that. And she, again, gave me pretty generic advice for my complex ADHD issues that I was having at that point in time, that actually spanned much deeper than my ADHD and went to other issues that I should have been discussing as well. But yeah, I think that I would rather see quizzes on what is the best therapy type for me. There's EMDR, CBT, DBT. You can do mindfulness therapy. There's what else? MBT, mentalization based therapy. That's for example, borderline personality disorder. There's like somatic therapy, where you're doing more like physical, sort of like physical healing stuff, like humming and body work and all this stuff. There's even like art therapy, movement therapy. There's even like marijuana therapy. Like there's every type of there's psychedelic therapy. those are a little bit more experimental. I highly doubt there's like not a very good chance they will get that unless you're gonna dish out money and go to another state or something probably. But there's so many therapy types out there. There's probably a perfect therapy type for you, and that's the cool thing is I think that I would rather see people taking a quiz on what type of therapy should I take than do I have trauma, where a quiz isn't gonna meet that for you. And I think that people should know that therapy isn't a one size fits all thing. Therapy is not just, I'm going to go talk to somebody and we're just going to chat about my problems. Therapists are very well educated on different sort of frameworks of how to meet you in all sorts of different complex issues with all sorts of different solutions. And there's so many different ways to target that. And that's what I think you should look. There's I'm gonna just name other ones. There's internal family systems. If you those trauma tests, if you think you have CPTSD, I don't know the exact method for getting internal family systems therapy. I don't know if I've never actually tried that or even looked it up, but I know that I've seen more and more people mention on the internet that they're doing that for their CPTSD. That might be a good option for you. Or maybe you just want medication, you need a psychiatrist. But yes, again, okay, I'm done. But I just was really reflecting on that today, and I've learned so much about having years of mental health issues that like there's so many different there's just I think that that's the conversation I want to see had more of how to get people into therapy. How do we create therapy make therapy more accessible for people and get more information about therapy to more people. Anyways, okay, my neural network, all this, and yet my project isn't done. This is what I have from last time. I'm still working on this. I actually was watching one of my old, like my last video today, and I was kind of tired the day that I was working on this, but I actually saw that I kind of glazed over something that I thought actually I was like, oh wait, that actually probably could have been useful for me. So I'm gonna try to find that paper again. That's the nice thing about my videos is that sometimes I'll catch myself reading something. I'm like, wait a minute. Or like I'll say something, I'm like, whoa, I kind of forgot I said that one. And then I have the paper there and everything, so it's kind of nice. Yeah. Anyways, last thing, I think we also though do need to destigmatize sometimes. I think we should I know this sounds a bit
I think we should destigmatize confabulation, which is basically creating a false memory by accident. Sounds a bit odd because it's not a good thing per se, but I think that also, unless people are genuinely psychology experts, brains are so confusing. It's so confusing to navigate your own head. Really hard to know what's what. I think that's part of the
deal. I don't know, with navigating trauma is it's just confusing. Sometimes you think something's that and it's not, and it just I don't think that we should stigmatize confabulation or see it. I think this is again. I think that we have created a situation, have created an environment where I feel really bothered by this. The first thing that people want.
Where we're gonna sort of support women in getting their rapists or their abusers or whatever sort of like getting the justice they deserve. The first question people always want to ask is, well, what about the liars? What about the people who are lying? What about the people who are making it up or whatever? And that's not the majority. And I think that that's what's really irritating is that it always every time that you get a little bit of a push for that experience, the first question is, well, what about the people that are going to get it wrong? Where it's like, it's not the first question, but I think that's very often, I think, a big thought process. Well, somehow a lot of women make it up for revenge. I don't think that happens as much as you think that it does. And the vast majority of people are not getting, people who actually went through abuse situations aren't even getting the abuse all the way through court. So how is it happening that all of a sudden it's all the liars are getting people thrown into prison? It happens. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I think that that's always the conversation. And I don't know. I think that's also additional context when it comes to recovered memory question, where people are have this sort of jump or this sort of attachment to the idea, well, what about people who lie? What about people who make it up? Well, I think that we should also be aware of the fact that, again, not every people are not experts in their brain. You don't always it's really hard to say what's happening, and that's the point of therapy, and that's why people need to be more educated on recovered memory, because it gives you a framework to support people through that experience. And people don't confabulate even I would say probably I don't have a paper to back it, but I don't think that people are often confabulating because they're trying to lie, or they're trying to harm somebody, or they're, this or that, or they just want attention or something. I think a lot of times people also just need to be told what that experience looks like, and you need to know what does a recovered memory feel like? What does it look like? Does it make sense for that to be a recovered memory? Does it make sense in context? How'd that come up? Things like that, where I think people just, that's the point of going to therapy, is that you get a bit more informed on how your brain operates, so that you actually have a better sense of, like, you can sort yourself out, right? Where sometimes you think, I don't know, this is a bit on the funnier side, but I've seen plenty of people where they talk about they went to a therapist because they thought they were hearing voices, or they thought they were going crazy, but it turns out that they didn't know. I saw this once, or a few times actually, people didn't know that was like a thought. I know that sounds a bit insane, but they thought that they were hearing voices. It turns out they were just thinking. I know it sounds silly, but sometimes it's not. People just don't always know that's the point of going to a therapist and somebody who's an expert in the first place, is that you get that support. And I just think that we need to destigmatize confabulation and just create better systems overall, where we understand that experience more. And I think the stigma actually creates the exact situation that it's sort of against, where then people don't have good information for how to navigate their own minds and trauma and all of that. I don't know. I just think that for me, I learned over time that I just learned a lot about this experience. I'm gonna hopefully translate all this into information, but it was really, for me, even having actual recovered memories, it was hard for me when I was getting fragments at later times, because I wanted to understand how the fragments fit together, and I had to learn to just be okay with having fragments. And that's okay too, where you don't always need to know the full story or the full picture. Let's see. So I was actually, oh, here. Yeah. Anyways, that's why I also always sort of fight for the idea that this is again, it's in the future. It's in hopefully somewhere in the future. I think that we should make the justice system so much more trauma informed. The justice system it's not trauma informed enough to make create nuanced depictions of what's going on in a situation that involves so much trauma. And often, because I think, again, sometimes there's like this drama that we add to certain situations, where I feel like it's like the drama of the justice system, where they want to sort of pin this sort of, oh, there was an underlying motive, where I don't think that that's often the case with trauma, where that was really frustrating for me, where it's like I feel like an underlying motive was pinned on my situation that, again, was not accurate. First of all. Second of all, nobody was informed enough. I checked myself. I looked at everybody's qualifications. Nobody was informed enough psychologically to make that statement about me. And I think that often in the justice system, there's a sort of like you did it because of this sort of courtroom drama that really doesn't translate well when you're coming in with a really vulnerable trauma. And it's always, it feels like there's somebody's sort of in the wrong, or there's a sort of perpetrator, where it really hurts when you're in a situation against when you're talking about your sexual abuse, to have somebody sort of treat you like, oh, we don't have enough evidence, so you lost, and you're this sort of, I felt like a perpetrator in that setting, because it was like one person was going to be wrong or right, where, first of all, that's really painful for somebody with trauma. And I just think that that's not actually very accurate. Again, I think even it's okay, like, sometimes the answer can just be, we don't have enough evidence or whatever. And I think that that's the frustrating part, is that it's really hurtful to go in a situation where it feels like somebody's going to be very skeptical of your underlying motivations, where there was not an underlying motivation. And I think that a trauma-informed individual would have been able to navigate that with more accuracy and with less harm. That's what I kind of think. That's why I think that there should be significantly more trauma-informed. That's why you get the situation where women who speak out about abusers, it's like, they wanted money, they were out to get you, there was revenge, where it's this sort of courtroom drama that really doesn't fit right. It doesn't fit right at all. Especially because I understand, this is a thing, I understand that it's really hard
also with sexual abuse cases or with rape cases, whatever, because a lot of what happens behind closed doors. If there's not, it's not like, you know, a theft or something, or there's not always like a bullet wound or, you know, something like that. And it can be that, I think that can be really the sort of downside or the difficulty, also because a lot of people feel afraid to speak out for a very long time, and then, you know, time has passed, you don't have the same kind of evidence or whatever as you did in the beginning. But I understand. I think that also it can be probably hard. I don't think it's I think people make it out to be harder than it is, because I think there's a bias. I think there's a definite bias against women. I'm gonna link some statistics below that I read the other day. Also, other biases against women in the justice system. When it comes to things like what's the word? Like abuse and stuff, and custody battles. Very surprising statistics, given what the feminists will say. But anyways, I think there is a bias in the first place, so I think that that's already a difficulty. It's already a difficulty because people don't understand trauma that well. But I also understand that maybe sometimes it can be a bit of a challenge, because again, it happens behind closed doors. When it comes to sexual abuse, it takes, you know, people won't say it for a long time. But I think that people need to be more cognizant of how they interact with that situation. Again, where it's not a courtroom drama, it's somebody coming to you vulnerably, even if it is because of some mental health issue that made them feel that way. It is a mental health issue. I just think that we are people in the justice system, like, you're often dealing with people who have just been through such nasty and horrible traumatic situations, and I just think that we need to move away from the courtroom drama and move more towards something a bit more gentle and just more informed, I would say, and um save the courtroom drama for, I don't know, save it for the white collar crime or something. I don't know, but like, it's not, I just think that that's the real frustration, where it's so painful, and it's so it's hard to go in with a trauma and feel like you came out feeling villainized. I felt that way, even if it wasn't maybe intentional, but it feels that way when you're speaking out. And yeah, I don't know. And again, and I think it's really women who get this issue a lot, where I think we need to be so much more okay. Just I'm talking medicine, I'm talking the justice system, everything. If you don't have all the information, because we don't have all the information for a lot of women's issues. Again, we have women, when you get goes for men too who have dealt with sexual abuse, but when it comes to sexual trauma, sexual abuse, like, you don't always, you can it's hard sometimes, even in the justice system, to get a full scope, because again, a lot happens behind closed doors, and maybe sometimes you don't have enough evidence. We need to be so much more okay saying, I don't know. The answer can always just be, I don't know, I don't have enough information. And I think that when it comes to women's issues particularly, rather than saying we don't know, we don't have enough information, people end up making these sorts of conclusions that are very dismissive. It's fake, they're making it up for attention. They wanted, they just wanted it. They have an underlying motive, all these different things, where it's like, if you don't have enough information, you can just say that, and that's okay too. And that's an answer already, and that's a productive answer, to say, I don't know enough to give you a solid conclusion on this. It doesn't mean that you're lying, it doesn't mean that it's fake, but we just don't know enough yet, and I'm sorry for that. And we're gonna, you know what I mean? I think that's just a more valid answer that I think we need to say more for women's issues in general, where rather than shutting down or being dismissive or imposing another narrative on top. And again, I saw that so much with recovered memory, where it's like, instead of saying there's just not enough information and there's not enough research to say shut it down, it's fake, you can say we just don't know enough. That's okay. And doctors, even if you don't know the exact reason why someone's having a complex emotional issue or complex health issue, you can say, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what that's coming from. I don't know why that's happening. And I'm going to try to find out more, rather than you're lying because I don't know the answer straight away. I don't know is okay. I just think I don't know is I think it's a great answer. More. We need to say more more of I don't know sometimes, and not rush. Okay, let's lock in a little bit. I think I just had a lot on my mind. I think I've just been really thinking about this the last few days, but anyways,
what I'm trying to figure out right now, so let's look back at the top and just see what am I missing. Let's write some questions. Now I'm in a little bit of a pissed off mood. This is the trend of my project is that I start thinking too deeply about why I'm doing. Sometimes I'm like, neuroscience is fun. I love this. And I'm like, I'm just going along being like, I love science and this is like the funnest thing ever. And then I just kind of stop and I think about why I'm doing this again and I get pissed off and I'm like, oh, like no, we need to do better and all this stuff or I just get pissed off again. But it's like, I need to just be like, chemicals are cool. Like, I think that that's the best way to go with my project because I get like this irk of just irritation and it makes me unfocused. Questions. And then I'm gonna go buy cat food and chocolate because I really want chocolate now. Okay, let's not be pissed off. Let's do science. What will happen is that there will be an amygdala. The writing for this is so funny. It's just so like, I don't know. It's not that like sophisticated yet. When triggered, it will cause acetylcholine to go up. What's going to get triggered? And how does the tagging work? That's the question I keep having is like amygdala question mark. Amygdala? How does it work? I might see there's actual computational models of amygdalas. I'm kind of mad. Angrily gonna search computational models of amygdalas. There is computational models of amygdalas. I just want to see what do they do? How do they do that? This is like all of it. That's kind of cool because this is what I kind of need. And I think the chocolate will get me the rest of the way there. Okay, now that I've opened up a bunch of these, I'm really kind of pissed off right now. I'm not gonna lie to you, and I'm annoyed. So I'm gonna go fix that before we come back because I feel like I can't read any. Yeah, I feel like I can't read anything right now. I think I overthink things sometimes though. I've been realizing this recently. I'm sorry, this is like a therapy session now. Now this is therapy. I feel like this has been I've actually said this multiple times. I overthink so hard actually because sometimes I think I'm flopping so bad and then people will be like you're doing great, like amazing, we love it. Like I was at my job this week and I swear the last few weeks because I've been so dedicated to this, I've been doing other stuff. I feel like I haven't like I know that I could do more at my job if I really tried. I know I could do more at my I feel like I hear what's happening. I have ideas and stuff. I'm like I want to I feel I'm very dedicated. Like I like to really focus my time on stuff. Like if I'm doing a job, I like to do like a good job, you know? But I've been working on this stuff and I was like in the back of my head, I'm like I'm flopping. I'm flopping so hard at this job, dude. They're gonna fire me because I suck. I'm not working hard enough. I'm not doing all this. And then I went to talk to my coworkers this week, like literally yesterday, and we had a very nice dinner. And they're like, we're just talking about how great it is to work with you and how dedicated you are and like all this stuff, and you're doing a great job. I was shook. I was like, oh, you guys don't think I suck because I feel like I suck. And so, yeah, I feel like sometimes I'm like, I need to chill out. And that's what I feel with the statistics class a little bit, where I'm like, okay, you know what? Maybe this isn't like a me being lazy and sucking and like what's wrong with me thing, where it's in my head. I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, I'm so like just looking for excuses. I should be working on my stat stuff right now. Where first of all, this project is so important to me and it's giving me more time to spend on that. Second of all, I can't control my computer. I literally tried. I exhausted every option, went to office hours. My teacher, my professor, the TA didn't know how to fix it. The professor had never seen that issue before, and he's literally teaching the class. Like they told me go get a laptop. I got a laptop. I tried it. It didn't work. So I'm like, I don't know what to do. Where I think I'm like really pissed off at myself sometimes. Where it's like you need to calm down and like you're doing fine, but I really will be like, I don't know. I'm like, what's wrong with me? Where yeah, I don't know. I think across the board it's like, oh, life is better than I think. I think it's like again therapy vibes, but I feel like for a long time I'm like life is worse than I think. But then I'm like, you know what? Now it's actually really not. Like it's kind of chill. It's actually pretty chill. I'm not doing a bad job. This is working out so good. You see, this is a reflection of me being like, this sucks. Do better. And like I'll be like, you haven't worked on it in 3 days. Like get on it. And it's like, bro, what is wrong with you? Like calm down. It's really fine. Yeah. I don't know. I think I just have overly high like standards for myself sometimes. And I like, I'm like, I'm overly stressed about stuff where I'm like, oh my gosh, I should take a trauma test about it so they can tell me I'm secretly a narcissist, but also have repressed childhood trauma about it. This is all coming from the fact that you didn't know that you, like, I don't know, got hit by a car when you were 7 years old because you looked at this picture of a tree, and we are diagnosing you with severe trauma from this random online quiz. And that's why this is all happening right now. And then I can show it to my non-existent partner and they can sob their eyes out because I'm 73%, what was it again? Heartbroken or something. It was something crazy like that from earlier. I want to see what would happen if someone brought one of those test quiz results to a therapist. Like, I'm sure there's somebody out there that has done that, where they get one of these online quizzes and they're like, I'm sorry, but this is literally telling me that I'm severely traumatized. And it's like, okay, I don't know if that's right. I'm sure it's happened to somebody out there. Actually, the tests don't even really, I feel like you have to pay for the results. And they don't, I remember I took it because I was like, let me see what this even does. And I don't think they even gave me the results, actually. I think they tried to get me to pay for them, or I'm like, this is just not happening right now. Or like they tried to get me to do something. So I don't even know. They might have been telling me that I was on the brink of like madness and I would never know. I just have to live with the fact that I don't know that answer to that. Okay, anyways, I don't know. I'm going insane actually right now. I'm so tired. But this is really good, really useful. It's just that what my question I need to remember again is, how does this stupid tagging thing work? How does this work again? Is it like a intercellular signals? How do I translate that into like a neural network? I don't know. I don't know. I'm really tired. You know what? We're gonna end it here. I need to chill out with myself because I actually really didn't feel that good today. I think because I didn't get enough sleep. So I should really end the day here and go sleep and like do stuff. So wait, let's end it here. But this was actually, I said I wanted, the one thing I wanted to find today was this amygdala tagging thing, and this is already good. I mean, it's 2, 3 sentences, but it's actually pretty useful already. So that's pretty chill. That's already gonna make actually a pretty massive difference. I'm gonna copy paste this into my thing, but I need to actually find like a results. Honestly though, I'm like, we're gonna end it on a serious note, sweet note. Now that I've gone on a deranged exhaustion spiral. Wait, where do I put this? I'm not gonna lie. I think people just really, again, we're just gonna make it serious to end the day, but no hate to anybody who's tried one of those quizzes or whatever. I don't know if anyone has ever actually, I don't know, because nobody in my inner circle has ever gone that far with one of those quizzes, you know? I've tried and then it didn't really, I don't know. Again, they try to make me pay for it. I'm like, I know that this is fake already, so I'm not going to pay for that, but thank you. But I feel like everyone just wants to understand themselves. I loved online quizzes when I was younger. I'm not going to lie. We should take an online quiz right now. Okay, that's the last thing I'm going to do is take some random online quiz. I'm going to show you guys my childhood. My sister and I would spend hours on this website. Wait, where'd it go? If you know, you freaking know. This was my sister and I's childhood. We were constantly on this website taking the most insane quizzes. You can learn anything here. If you get the urge to take a quiz, don't take a trauma quiz on this. You know what? We should take a trauma quiz on this. This is probably going to be more accurate than those stupid tests, and definitely nobody is checking on these, and these are awful. Not awful, but they're made by children, as my sister and I were when we were taking these. This was literally my whole childhood. My sister and I, like, if you get the random urge to just know more information about yourself, do not take those quizzes. Do not get scammed. It's not helpful. It's not real. It is not based on any science, and it sucks. But if you have an intense urge to randomly know niche things about yourself, such as are you the mom, dad, or parent friend, girl, open quotev.com, open it, and go take a quiz on something. Look, literally, that's funny because they're trying to diagnose you with something here. Just open this and go do something stupid. Wait, what are we going to learn about ourselves today? I'm going to find the most insane one. The one that my sister and I would do the most is we do these ones where they're making your life. Like, they're like, what is your future life? Let's take some quizzes. I'm gonna tell you guys some stuff about myself. Look at this. Why take a scam quiz when you can learn what your future looks like? They'll literally tell you your future right here out of like 5 preset options. Let's see. What does my desk look like?
Be proud at the end of the day. Oh my gosh, I moved a project forward, measurable progress. So me. Okay. Okay, guys, what could my future look like? Okay. Okay, quiet realist. That's kind of accurate for me. Field or job, practical study profession. So public sector, skilled trades, administration, project coordinator, lab tech, librarian, accountant, or logistics. Okay. Work life, you prefer predictability and clear expectations. Your job is competent and reliable. Your coworker, this is actually spot on, weirdly. I mean, is it really that hard to guess from my options? No. Growth is steady rather than meteoric, and you value the dignity of consistent work. Family and relationships conventional but chosen. You might marry and have kids, keep a small close family, or prefer being single with a circle of steady friends. Financial and emotional security are priorities. Home and lifestyle, comfortable house or apartment with practical design, tidy kitchen, plans for the future. This fits me because I value competence and predictability. I measure success in security and reliable routines. I'm going to show this to my freaking future partner and have them sobbing their eyes out from the results. Like, this is a much better thing to do. Should I see my villain backstory? Okay, we're going to see my villain backstory. Wait. Or should I get detailed pony life results? Let's design my pony self and then we're going to go to bed. Howdy, every pony. The magic of friendship is calling your name. Create your very own pony self. What type of pony are you? I don't even know. I thought that's what the quiz was supposed to tell me. Now I'm telling them. What's an alicorn? Ooh, I think I'm a crystal pony. What color is my coat? What do you? I don't know. I thought this was gonna tell me. I didn't think I was gonna do all this work. Maybe I'm like, I like this color. What color is my mane or tail? I don't know. What goes with that pinky salmon color? Maybe like a teal? I don't I think I kind of chose a bad color because I don't think any of it goes with this. I can choose up to 3 colors. Ooh, I'm gonna be kind of punky, like this black tail. Describe the style of my mane or tail. It's like, oh wait, I need to visualize this. This is actually work. I want something kind of like edgy, I think. I'm like girly but edgy, you know? But ooh, high ponytail or bun is a little bit fun. Bangs for a tail is insane. What do you mean bangs? Oh, for my mane too. Oh, I thought it was just for my tail. I was like, bangs for your okay. Well, my hair is really thick, so maybe luxuriously thick. Which color are your eyes? I can choose 2 colors if I want heterochromia. This is so fun. What color are my eyes? This is kind of scary, but I like it. Yellow eyes is a little bit weird. Kind of zombie vibes. What color is my tail? Oh no, my eyes. I kind of like the purple. Is that bad? Purple eyes. I don't want heterochromia. What scent do others associate with me? None of this. Wait. I don't know if you know me. Do you associate me with caramel drizzle and roasted coffee? Lemon zest, rain-soaked earth and moss, or stardust and moonlight. I don't even know what that smells like, so I'm gonna go with that. I've never smelled stardust, but I think I would assume that people associate me with stardust. They don't say it, but I kind of feel like they do. How would you describe your voice? The other 10 are popular fictional characters if you want, okay. Oh, wait, they have actual characters. That's funny to be a Pegasus, but you sound like Spock from Star Trek. What? Like imagine being this, but your voice is like rational and like super like Spock vibes. It's kind of creepy. Like that's kind of weird. Wait, who else? Shrek. Oh wait, I thought it said Shrek. Shit. Okay. I was like, Shrek is insane. That's kind of funny. Wait. Shaggy from Scooby Doo. Uh, is that what my voice sounds like? Maybe. Maybe. I don't know. It's kind of awkward to choose a voice. Calm and soothing. I'm gonna claim calm and soothing because that just sounds like a nice pony self vibe. What cutie mark do I have? Oh, these are actually cute. I like these. Oh, this one's dark. I feel like if I had one, it would be like what? I don't know. Maybe this one. Oh, I don't know. This one or this one? This one feels like me.
What is my favorite place to go? I don't know any of these places. I'm not gonna lie. Ponyville Library. I've never been to any of these locations. I've never been to the Ponyville stage, so I don't know. This is probably the hardest question. I'm gonna say the Ponyville Library because I do like to read. No, this is not. Oh wait, I thought this was. Oh, I thought this was a result. I got really disgusted. I was like, this is not who I decided. This is not who I made. This is like a dude, and he's not pink. He's got none of the colors. Okay, which outfit do you? That was really overdramatic for nothing. Which outfit or accessories do you like the most? Ignoring the pony, okay, but looking only at the clothing and accessories. This is kind of fire, actually. Dresses, jewelry. Ooh, these are cute. I have to only look at the outfits. What would I wear? She's not even wearing clothes. Oh, she's wearing a hat. Oh, wait. This is kind of. I like this one. I'll wear her. This is 25 questions long. Oh my gosh, guys. You don't need to know all this. I'm going to pick some random things. You don't need to know how my personality. This is long. This is like literally the length of a psychological assessment, actually, like at this point. Wait, this one's funny. There are two ponies having a disagreement. How would you help them? How would these are actually really making me reflect. I'm not gonna lie to you. These are difficult. There's two ponies having a disagreement. What would I naturally do? These are so. Why is there so many? This is the most thought out quiz I've ever taken on this website. There's usually like 8 questions, and they're just mostly pictures. These are like, they went in actually. This is so funny. Oh, I kind of like lead a meditation or calming exercise. Wait, no. I'll ask them to express their feelings through song or poetry. If I had a job, I'd be a healer because I like psychology. Oh my gosh, guys. What role do you play in your friend group? It's like all these nice things, and the last one just says, I don't need friends. They disappoint me. Oh, that's the edgy pony. I was always a tarot reader, so I'm gonna say the listener. Oh my gosh, I'm giving my pony ADHD. I'm easily distracted and have trouble focusing. I'm actually not at this point, but I'm gonna give my pony ADHD at this point, just because it's asking me what kind of gift I would like to receive from a friend, and it has all these options. And I like how one of them is this Shrek onion necklace. If my friend gave me acne patches, I'd be a little bit insulted. So I would never choose that. Like, what do you mean? You think I have bad acne? If my friend gave me this, I would be overjoyed. So we're gonna choose this thing. Main 6 pony. I don't know the ponies. I think you guys need to know this about me. If Discord, I don't know who Discord is, offered me one wish from his chaos magic, what would I ask for? But it only works for 25 hours, not 24 hours. 25 hours. Who is Discord for Discord to become my best friend, but I don't even know him? Wait, that's actually crazy. To travel through dreams and visit others' imaginations? Everyone would be getting a visit from me. That's crazy. That's an insane, like, whoever this is so creative. That's actually so cool. Describe your ponytails. What is your dream aesthetic? My dream home. Ooh, this one kind of. Wait, these are stunning, some of these. This one is like, I don't know. It's kind of good. I like it. I don't know any of these songs either. Which of these non-MLP songs do you like? And it's the most random songs you've ever heard of, and I don't know any of these. Who knows these? I don't even know who these people are. They chose most random ones too. I don't even know this Chapel Rowan song. This isn't like a popular one. So, oh, I love these are like, wow, this is a lot. This is dedication, whoever made this. Out of all of these songs, probably Apocalypse by Cigarettes After Sex is my choice. Oh my gosh, guys, oh my gosh, my pony. I'm nervous right now. Okay, my possible pony looks. We're gonna open them. Wait, okay. My possible pony names, I'm either Gemstone, Glimmer, or Velvet Twirl, Silk Mane or Crystal Hoof, Glitter Rain, or Satin. Which one are we choosing? This is kind of hard. Wait, let me choose my look first, because then it'll make more sense. Ooh, wait, why does this one look like me? Am I crazy? I feel like she kind of genuinely looks like me as a pony because she has my hair. This one is a no. We're not doing that. No. Wait, this one actually looks like me. Oh my gosh, I have to save this. I'm literally going to make a Pinterest board dedicated to this pony right now. It's not going to have anything in it except my pony, but it's a secret. Because that made me happy. It actually does look like me. I think I could be Gemstone Glimmer. My possible cutie marks. Wait, this is gonna. Oh my gosh. This is a really big moment right now. What is my cutie mark? This one's kind of, and no offense, but it's kind of looking like a cancer awareness ribbon. So like a breast cancer awareness ribbon. And not to say that I wouldn't endorse that and I don't support that, but I don't think I want it as like my cutie mark. No offense. This one's interesting. This is, oh my god. Wait, look at it again. Oh my gosh, this one is actually cool. Wait, reload. I'm saving it to my Pinterest board. Do you see? This is so much better than those stupid trauma quizzes. If you ever see one of those, reject it and take a My Little Pony quiz. Okay, oh my gosh. You're dazzling, stylish, and full of self-expression. You live for fashion, accessories, and helping every pony around you feel confident in their look. I'm a baddie. You're creative, ambitious, and maybe a little dramatic. I sound like a Leo, you know, the astrology sign. In the best way possible. I adore fabrics, sparkles, and designing outfits that make ponies feel like stars. Oh my gosh, I'm a fashion designer. Your charm and eye for details makes you unforgettable. You have a sketchbook full of designs for every pony you meet. You love giving makeovers for fun. You dislike messy manes and clashing colors. And I collect ribbons and crystals, and my room looks like a boutique straight out of Canterlot. I love it. I'm so cute. Wait, let's go see my pony again, and then I'm going to finish this conversation. Do you see how much more fun that was? That's so much better. Bring that to your therapist. I don't know what your therapist could say from that, but they'd probably like the pony. Like, there's nothing to psychoanalyze, but they might think it's a really freaking cool pony. Like, they might be like, oh, that's a cool ass pony. And that's a conversation starter, honestly. Look how freaking cute she is. Oh my gosh. It's so cute. I love her. She literally looks like me, and I love it. I look like a goddess. I look like such a little like goddess. What's my name again? Gemstone Glimmer. I'm so cute. Okay. Well, that's it. If you want to take the quiz, I'm actually going to link the quiz below. I'm going to be that dramatic about it. Much better quizzes than those psychology quizzes. Okay, that's it. This was not a very productive video in terms of like my work, but we made some progress. But I think I just really had it on my mind that I wanted to talk about all that recovered memory stuff that's just been like circulating around my head, and I'm glad I got to talk about that. The quizzes. I'm gonna link the ponies below if you want to take a quiz and print it out, send it to your therapist, show it to your partner, and have them cry about it. Show them my pony results, and they're like, I didn't know you'd be like this. That's how it always is in the ads where they show they're like, I'm 98% physically abused, and the partner's like, it's like, okay. Well, anyway, show them the pony. They might cry about it, and if they don't, break up with them. So anyways, bye guys.